The sound of the courtroom gavel hit like thunder. "Life in prison without parole," the judge said, his voice cold and final. The room spun around Isaac as the words echoed in his head. Life, for something he didn't do. His mother cried out from the back row, clutching her chest, while the prosecutor smirked like a man who had already won long before the trial began. Isaac stood there frozen, his hands in cuffs, heart pounding like it wanted to escape his chest. He had spent months telling anyone who would listen that he was innocent, that he didn't lead any drug ring, that someone had set him up. But no one believed him. Now, standing in the courtroom that smelled of sweat, with polish and broken dreams, he realized something terrifying. The truth didn't matter here. As two guards pulled him toward the door, Isaac looked back one last time. His mother's face was red from crying. His little sister, only 15, looked at him with wide, scared eyes. He wanted to scream, to tell her he'd be back, but his throat felt locked. The heavy doors shut behind him, and the sound of the outside world faded. The first night in the maximum security prison felt like being buried alive. The cell was small, cold, and smelled of rust and wet concrete. The man in the next cell laughed all night, talking to himself about ghosts. Another man screamed at the guards for hours. Isaac lay on his bunk, staring at the ceiling, whispering to himself, "I didn't do it. I didn't do it." Weeks passed, then months. Every day was the same. The clang of the metal gates, the shouting, the endless noise. Isaac felt himself slipping, until one day, something inside him changed. He was in the prison library, a quiet place most inmates avoided. There, on a dusty shelf, he found a thick old law book. He opened it out of boredom, but the words hit him like lightning. The laws, the cases, the arguments, they were the same ones that had been used against him. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what he had read. If these laws could put him in prison, maybe they could also set him free. From that moment, Isaac made a promise to himself. If no lawyer was going to save him, he'd become his own. He began studying every single day, early mornings, late nights. He borrowed law books, read old cases, took notes, and asked questions to anyone who knew anything. The guards laughed at him. Some of the inmates mocked him, calling him professor, but others started coming to him for help. "Hey man, can you read my appeal?" one would ask. "My lawyer ain't answering me," said another. Isaac helped them little by little. One day, an inmate named Curtis, a man who had been locked up for 20 years, came running down the hall, shouting Isaac's name. "They cut my sentence, man. They really did. That paper you helped me write worked." For the first time in years, Isaac smiled. He had done something good, even inside this place that had taken everything from him. But word travels fast in prison. And soon, not everyone was happy about what Isaac was doing. The warden called him to the office one morning, his face tight with anger. "You think you're some kind of lawyer now?" the man growled. "You're not here to play court, right? You're here to do your time." Isaac didn't answer. He just stared at the warden, feeling a quiet fire burn inside. That night, his cell was searched. His notes were torn. His books were taken. The guards said it was routine, but Isaac knew better. They were trying to break him, to remind him that even if he learned the law, he was still trapped inside their walls. He sat on his bunk in the dark, his fists clenched, papers scattered on the floor. His dream of proving his innocence was slipping away again. But then, from the next cell, a voice spoke. "You gonna let them win, brother?" It was Curtis. "They can take your books, but they can't take your mind." Isaac took a deep breath. Curtis was right. The system had already stolen his freedom. He wouldn't let them steal his fight. He started again, writing from memory, rebuilding his notes word by word. It was harder now. Fewer resources, constant punishment. But the more they pushed him, the stronger he became. Then one afternoon, while reviewing a court document, Isaac found something strange. A piece of paper hidden inside an old legal file. It was a note scribbled years ago by someone who had worked in the prosecutor's office. It mentioned his case, and the words "false testimony." Isaac's hands shook. He read the note again and again. Could it be true? Had the prosecutor known that one of the key witnesses had lied? His heart pounded as he realized this could be the proof he needed. He hid the paper in the lining of his shoe, terrified someone might take it. That night, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling again, just like his first night. But this time he wasn't whispering, "I didn't do it." He was whispering, "I can prove it." The next morning, before breakfast, he was called out of his cell unexpectedly. 2 guards were waiting for him by the door. "Right?" one of them said. "The warden wants to see you. Now." Isaac's stomach tightened. He didn't know why, but something about the way the guard looked at him made his pulse race. He followed them down the long, echoing hallway. The prison was quiet, too quiet. Every sound of his footsteps bounced off the walls. The guards stopped at the warden's office. One of them opened the door. Inside, the warden sat behind his desk, a single folder in front of him. He didn't smile. He didn't speak for a long time. Then he said in a slow, cold voice, "I heard you've been doing some digging, Mr. Wright." Isaac froze. He didn't move, didn't speak. The warden leaned forward, tapping the folder with one finger. "You think you're smarter than the system? You think you can just walk out of here?" Isaac's mouth went dry. He glanced at the folder and noticed the corner of a paper sticking out. The same kind of paper he had found in that file. His mind raced. How did they find out? The warden smiled slightly, a cruel, knowing smile. "You might want to be careful what you look for in here," he said. "Some people who dig too deep don't make it out." Isaac's heart stopped. He knew now that he wasn't just fighting for his freedom. He was fighting for his life. The warden's words hung in the air like a blade. "Some people who dig too deep don't make it out." Isaac felt the chill slide down his spine as the warden's eyes locked on his. The guards behind him didn't move. The office was so quiet that Isaac could hear the ticking of the clock on the wall, each second feeling louder than the last. He wanted to speak, to defend himself, but his throat was dry, his voice trapped somewhere between fear and anger. The warden leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms, and said, "I'm watching you, right? One wrong step, and I'll make sure you never see daylight again." Isaac didn't reply. He knew any word out of his mouth could make things worse. He turned and walked out, the guards close behind, their boots thudding on the concrete floor. The hallway felt longer than ever, every step echoing like a warning. When he returned to his cell, Curtis was waiting at the bars, whispering, "Man, what happened? You look like you saw a ghost." Isaac sat down slowly, rubbing his hands together. "The warden knows," he said. "Knows what?" "About the note. About what I found." Curtis's eyes went wide. "You sure?" Isaac nodded. "He had one of the papers. I don't know how, but he knows I've been digging." Curtis let out a low whistle. "Then you better be careful, brother. This place don't play fair." Isaac leaned back against the cold wall, his mind racing. He couldn't stop now, not after coming this far. That note could be the key to his freedom. But he had to be smarter, quiet, invisible. Over the next few weeks, Isaac changed his routine. He stopped asking questions out loud. He avoided the library during the day and started sneaking in at night when most of the prison was asleep. He worked under the dim yellow light, copying pages from law books by hand and hiding his notes inside old magazines. Still, the guards kept watching him. He could feel it. Some nights, he'd wake up to the sound of footsteps outside his cell, slow and heavy. One night, a shadow lingered by his bars longer than usual. He sat up, heart pounding, and whispered, "Who's there?" Silence. Then the shadow moved away. The next morning, he found his pillow torn open and one of his hidden papers missing. He knew what that meant. Someone inside was working with the warden. Someone was watching every move he made. Isaac realized he couldn't do this alone anymore. If he wanted to survive and win, he'd need allies. He started quietly helping more inmates with their cases. He fixed broken appeals, wrote letters, explained legal words they didn't understand. Soon, word spread that Wright, the jailhouse lawyer, could get things done. Even the toughest guys in the yard started showing him respect. One of them, a big man named Darnell, approached him one afternoon during lunch. "Yo, I heard you helped Curtis cut time," he said, his voice deep and low. Isaac nodded cautiously. "Yeah, I helped with his motion." "Why?" Darnell leaned closer. "I got something for you, but it ain't for free." Isaac frowned. "What kind of something?" Darnell glanced around to make sure no guards were listening, then slid a folded piece of paper across the table. "Heard this came from someone who used to work in the prosecutor's office. Got your name written all over it." Isaac's heart skipped. He unfolded the paper carefully. It was a photocopy, an old internal memo, stamped with the prosecutor's initials. It said, "Witness compensation must remain confidential. Do not disclose payment details during testimony." He read it twice, then looked at Darnell. "Where did you get this?" Darnell smirked. "Let's just say I know people who know people. You keep helping guys in here, I'll make sure more papers like that find their way to you." Isaac swallowed hard. It was risky, maybe even dangerous. But this was proof. Another piece of the puzzle showing that the prosecution had paid witnesses to lie. That night, Isaac hid the new document under the floor tile beneath his bed. His hands shook as he replaced it. Every nerve in his body screamed that someone could come for it any minute. Days turned into weeks. Isaac studied, wrote, and built a quiet army of men who trusted him. For the first time since his sentence, he felt like he was gaining ground. Then came the news that changed everything. A young guard named Miller, one of the few who treated inmates decently, slipped Isaac a folded note during mail call. "Keep this quiet," he whispered. When Isaac opened it in his cell, his stomach twisted. The note said, "The warden knows about the memo. Someone snitched. They're planning a transfer." A transfer. In prison talk, that could mean anything, moving him to another facility or worse, making him disappear on the way. That night, Isaac couldn't sleep. He kept hearing the warden's voice in his head. "Some people who dig too deep don't make it out." By morning, the guards showed up at his cell. "Pack your stuff, right?" one of them said. Isaac's heart pounded. "Where am I going?" The guard didn't answer. He just smirked. They led him down the same long hallway as before, past the library, past the offices, all the way to the back of the prison where the lights flickered and the smell of bleach burned his nose. When they stopped, Isaac saw a door he'd never seen before. Thick metal, no window, marked restricted access. "Move," one of the guards barked. Isaac hesitated. Every instinct screamed that something wasn't right. The guard shoved him forward. "I said move." He stumbled inside. The door slammed shut behind him. The sound echoed through the small, dim room. There was no one else there. Just a metal chair, a single bulb overhead, and a camera in the corner blinking red. Isaac looked up at it, his chest rising and falling fast. "What is this?" he whispered. The light flickered once, then twice, and then the door opened again. A man stepped in, not a guard this time. He wore a gray suit, his face half in shadow. He smiled faintly and said, "Mr. Wright, we need to talk about the things you've been finding." Isaac froze. Who was this man? And how did he know about the evidence? The man in the gray suit stood silently for a moment, his eyes studying Isaac like a hunter sizing up prey. His voice was calm, too calm when he finally spoke. "Sit down, Mr. Wright." Isaac hesitated. Every instinct told him not to move, but the two guards behind him made sure he didn't have a choice. He sat in the cold metal chair, hands cuffed tight in front of him. The man walked around him slowly. "You've been busy," he said. "Reading files you're not supposed to read. Asking questions you shouldn't be asking." He stopped in front of Isaac and smiled. A smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You're smarter than most men in here. I can see that. Which means you understand how dangerous curiosity can be." Isaac stared straight ahead. "Who are you?" The man raised an eyebrow. "Someone who doesn't want trouble. Let's just say I represent interests outside these walls. People who like the system the way it is." Isaac felt a shiver crawl up his neck. "You mean the people who put me here?" The man didn't deny it. "Call it what you want, but you're digging into things that don't concern you. If you keep doing that, you'll end up just another inmate number." Forgotten. Gone. He leaned closer, his breath cold against Isaac's face. But if you stop, if you keep quiet, I can make your time easier. Better cell. Less trouble. Maybe even parole one day. Isaac's heart raced. It was a trap. He could feel it. He took a deep breath and said quietly, I didn't do what they said I did, and I'm not stopping until I prove it. For a moment, the man said nothing. Then his smile faded. That's unfortunate, he said softly. He stood, nodded to the guards, and walked out without another word. The guards didn't move for a few seconds. Then one of them, a tall man with tattoos on his neck, leaned down close to Isaac and whispered, You should have taken the deal. They dragged him back to his cell. Isaac's legs felt heavy, his mind spinning with fear and anger. Curtis was waiting at the bars again. You good? He asked quietly. Isaac didn't answer right away. He sat down on his bunk, staring at the floor. Someone outside the prison came to see me, he said finally. Someone powerful. Curtis frowned. What did he want? He wants me to stop looking for the truth. Curtis cursed under his breath. Man, you in deep now. I know. Isaac leaned forward, his hands shaking slightly. But I'm not stopping. They framed me. They paid witnesses. And now they're trying to scare me into silence.